Hello, everyone. I hope everything is fine with you. Today, I and my buddy, Joe English, would like to discuss a little bit with you Jack London's The Law of Life. Okay, so without further ado, let's share the PowerPoint. Okay, so as we said, today we will be discussing Jack London's The Law of Life. What is the significance of the title, The Law of Life? What do you think this story is all about? Death is not a new phenomenon in the history of humanity. However, what matters is the perception about it, all right? How we look at it and our own, uh, you know, uh, attitude towards death and the idea of dying one day. So this refers to death as the law of life. The title of, or the significance of the title of the story, the law of life is that death is actually the law of life. Somebody is born and he or she lives a period of time. He or she does, uh, you know, uh, you know, have achievements and have a family. He or she has a family and kids, and you know, each of us does a lot of you know great things in life, and some of us achieve their objectives. Sorry, but in the end, we will have to die. So the law of life, as per the title, and the significance of it in is that it's talking about death as something that is not escapable. You know, all of us will have to face it one day. A stage everyone passes through. No one is ever emotionally prepared to face death. Okay. Author's background. Who is Jack London and what about his background? Jack London was born in 1876 in San Francisco, California. So he was born in the 19th century. He's an American novelist and short story writer whose best known works are The Call of the Wild and White Fang, which show the struggle for survival. So the idea of survival and death was a central idea in his writings, especially The Call of the Wild and White Fang. During the 20th century, he was one of the most extensively translated of American authors. Okay, what about the background of the story? It talks about the Eskimos and the nomadic life of tribes in the Arctic and how harsh it is. People there live in snowy environment. Their only source of heat is the fires, and their only transportation is by dog sled, and their food is mainly fish and hunting moose, an animal that looks like deer, and fish, especially salmon. All right, here's a couple of pictures to show how their life is. These are nomadic tribes. They go from one place to the other, as we said a bit ago, searching for food, searching for warmth, and that the only source of warmth or heat is fires. They have a pile of wood, pieces of wood, and they make a fire. The only way for them to go from one place to the other was the sleds driven by or drawn by dogs. Okay, so what is the setting of the story? Usually, or generally speaking, in any story, we talk about the time and the place where the story took place, all right? And specifically in this story, the place is the cold woods of Alaska around the Klondike area. And the time was not mentioned directly in the story, but we know it's winter through the consequence of day and night, and because of the snow and the extreme weather conditions where temperatures were way below zero. So, what are the characters or the main characters? The characters of a story are like persons, animals, or figures represented in the work of art. Uh, you know, there are many types of characters that exist in literature. Some of them are well developed, others are not well developed. But in our case particularly, in the story of The Law of Life by Jack London. The main character is an old man called Kaskush, and Setkum Tuha, and this is his daughter, Sitkum Tuha, and Kaskush's son, who is now the chief of the tribe after his father, following his father, and Zingha is the hunter. These are the four main characters. You can have a look at this picture and to have an idea about how their life are and where they live under severe weather conditions. Okay, so how about Kaskush, the old man? He's the former chief of the tribe. He's now an old man and couldn't move. He is left behind by his tribe and his own family because as we said earlier, they have to move from one place to the other, searching for food, searching for heat, to get wood, little pieces of wood to make fire and have heat because they can't live in Arctic temperatures like way sub-zero temperatures without a source of heat. And as an old man, Koskush could not go with them as he used to go in the past, so they eventually left him and went on their way. He accepts his fate and starts to see different images throughout the story. Well, how about Sitkumha? She's his daughter and did not help Kaskush, and she would rather keep the tribe's tradition. Okay, Kaskush's son is now the chief or the leader of the tribe, and he's not worried about his dad. He thinks it's the law of life again. Zingha is a hunter, and he opposed the tribe's tradition and helped Kaskush. And so these are the four main characters. The conflict is a struggle that faces. We have two kinds of conflict. It could be internal or external. Internal is like man versus himself, something that happens inside of man, inside of the person or the character that made him uneasy, and there's two opposing opinions or things that he needs to pick one from. The external conflict is usually between man or man and nature. Like now, we're talking about severe weather conditions, and this, puts great stress on people who live in such harsh conditions, and so this could, pose a conflict. Okay. So the internal conflict, old Koskush is fighting a battle with himself because he's not emotionally ready to face death. Internal conflict, he's fighting in his heart against the tribe's wishes for him. So in other words, he would like to survive and keep on living, while everybody else in the tribe knows he's too old now and couldn't move and couldn't endure the weather conditions and eventually will die. External conflict, as we said, he's at the mercy of the harsh winter conditions, the weather conditions there in with the Eskimos, in Alaska, yes, and also at the mercy of the wolves, as we will know in a bit. So the conflict here, as we said, man versus self, and man versus man and also man versus nature. Okay, the techniques are the methods and devices that the writers use to tell their stories, whether in works of literature or film or theater or even oral stories. Some of these techniques are like flashback, remembering events from the past that the main character, the protagonist, usually recalls. Um, Tone and mode. What is the difference? The tone is usually the author, how the author feels about events and how he expresses these events or incidents. The mood is how the reader feels when he reads the story. So in this story, the atmosphere is dark because and gloomy because we talk about death as a rule or a law of life. The author's use of words and writing style to convey his or her attitude towards a topic that is tone, you know, is nostalgic because the old man Koskush remembers himself when he was younger and things he used to do and so on. Okay, so what about the plot? What is a plot? Is a sequence of events that make up the story. Usually we have exposition, rising action, and then the climax and the falling action and the conclusion. Exposition, information about the characters and their backgrounds. Kaskush was sitting alone while the tribe must keep moving for survival issues. Rising action, problems, and conflict arising. Kaskush started to remember the moments of his past life. This is in flashback technique. Climax, the most exciting part of the story where all actions and problems come together. And for example, Kaskush gets shocked back to the present to feel that the wolves are surrounding him. He's no longer young and strong to face them. Falling action, the beginning of the problems to be solved, in this case, the wolves attacking Kaskush, and the end was that he will not survive. Okay? Kaskush accepts the law of life and eventually dies. Cause and effect. Cause, Kaskush is too weak to travel, and the effect or result, he must be left behind. Cause, a famine had started in the tribe. Effect, loved ones died and many felt pain. Uh, Cause, a time of plentiful amounts of food arrived. Effect, people were happy and game had gone unlike because there was so much food. Okay. Cause and effect, the man is growing old, he is blind. That's Kaskush, and is not strong enough to travel the long trail. Therefore, he is left by his son with a small pile of wood for a fire, alone in the wild to be attacked by the wolves. Okay, naturalism. This was a movement in the 1880s to the 1940s. Characteristics used realism exposes the dark areas of life, and naturalism also has to do with weather conditions. In the law of life, the weather is very cold and snowy, severe weather conditions. The Indian tribe is outside on their journey for days in freezing temperatures. Okay, naturalism is an experience that a person has no control over. Death is a thing that a person cannot control, for example. When all Kaskush set out for this journey, he never thought that he would be left to die alone and that it would be the end of his life. So as we the main idea or the main theme in that story is that death is central, and everybody will have to pass through it. Everybody will have to die one day, and that's why he calls it the law of life. There's symbolism. Symbolism is a figure of speech where an object, person, or situation has another meaning other than its literal meaning to represent something else, to create a certain mood or emotion in a work of literature. So the fire in the story symbolizes life itself. The sticks symbolized used to make the fire symbolize the desperate attempts for Kaskush to extend his life. Yeah, so and the moose, the animal, symbolized Kaskush and his fight to live. That's the moose animal. He's an animal that looks like deer, and he's usually hunted for food in those areas in Alaska. And the wolves symbolize death. Okay, the ice tundra symbolize the cold and also symbolize solitude. And this terrain is usually common in the Arctic and in Alaska and in Arctic regions, generally speaking. So, what are the themes or the central ideas discussed in the story? Death versus survival. Death is inevitable and unavoidable. This is the main theme of the story. And what is the summary of the law of life? You know, Jack London wants to say through the main character, old Kaskush dies or about to die by a pack of wolves who are now circling around him. Old Kaskush was once the chief of his tribe, young and strong, but his time of power is now over. Kaskush was expected to die by slowly freezing to death. He could no longer help the tribe, and the tribe had to carry on for its own survival without him. Kaskush is left behind to freeze to death and enter a peaceful death sleep. He knows the wolves will complete their task now and kill him. So it's just the cycle that everybody goes through. Man is born and then he becomes very strong when he grows into a young man. He was the chief of the tribe and he used to hunt and even kill wolves. Now he's very old and could not move, and he doesn't have many sticks to make fire as a source of heat. So the very extreme cold will um, freeze him to death, and also the wolves will not leave him. It's inevitable. He's just trying to say that it's just a cycle of life that one day everybody will have to die. Thank you very much for watching. I will be sharing also some ideas about different, pieces of literature, whether it be a novel or a short story or a drama. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.